My name is Sarah, and I am 61 years old. I have spent most of my life on this 47-acre farm in rural Ohio, working the land, raising my son, and building what I thought would be a legacy for our family. 3 years ago, I buried my husband Harold right here on this property. I thought my son would step up. I thought he would be there for me. Instead, I found myself standing alone in the fields at 5 in the morning, watching the dust settle from his car, driving away toward the airport. Before I share what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching from today. Drop your city or country in the comments below. If stories about family sacrifice and finding your strength resonate with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Trust me, you will want to stay for this one, because what my son said to me the very next day changed everything between us forever. Let me take you back to where it all began, so you can truly understand how I ended up in that field alone, heartbroken, and wondering where my son had gone. This farm has been in my husband Harold's family for 4 generations. His great-grandfather cleared this land with his own 2 hands back in 1923. He built the original farmhouse, a small wooden structure that has since been expanded and renovated over the decades. When Harold and I got married in 1984, we moved into that house, and I have lived here ever since. The property spans 47 acres of the most beautiful countryside you can imagine. Rolling hills covered in green during spring and summer, golden fields of corn swaying in the autumn breeze, and peaceful white blankets of snow in winter. We have a vegetable garden that I have tended for over 30 years, a chicken coop that houses about 2 dozen hens, an old red barn that Harold built himself in 1992, and the main house, a 2-story wooden structure with a wraparound porch that creaks in all the right places. I fell in love with this land the moment I first saw it. Harold brought me here on our 3rd date. We sat on that porch watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink, and he told me about his dreams for this place. He wanted to raise a family here, grow old here, and eventually pass it down to our children. I wanted all of that too. We got married that same year, and by 1986, we welcomed our son Derek into the world. The pregnancy was difficult. I was in labor for 23 hours, and there were complications. The doctors told us afterward that I would not be able to have any more children. It was devastating news at first, but Harold held my hand and said, "Then we will pour all our love into this one. He will have enough for 10 kids." And we did. Derek became our entire world. From the moment he could walk, Derek was out in the fields with us. I have photographs of him at 3 years old, wearing tiny overalls and a straw hat trying to help Harold plant tomato seedlings. He would follow his father around like a little shadow, asking a million questions about everything. Why do plants need water? Why is the sky blue? Why do chickens lay eggs? Harold had infinite patience for those questions. He would kneel down to Derek's level and explain things in ways a child could understand. By the time Derek was 10, he had his own little section of the garden. Harold measured out a 5-by-5-foot plot and told him, "This is yours, son. You decide what to grow." Derek chose cucumbers that first year, and when he harvested his first batch, I have never seen a child so proud. He insisted on making pickles with them. They were terrible, too salty and too sour, but Harold and I ate them anyway and told him they were the best pickles we had ever tasted. Those were good years. Hard years, but good ones. Farming is not easy work. The days start before sunrise and often do not end until well after dark. There are no weekends off, no vacation days, no calling in sick. The animals need to be fed, whether you have a fever or not. The crops need to be tended, whether your back aches or not. But we did it together, the 3 of us, and that made all the difference. When Derek started high school, Harold and I noticed that his interests were shifting. He was less excited about farm work and more interested in his books, his computers, his friends in town. We understood. Not every farm kid wants to grow up to be a farmer. We wanted Derek to have choices to find his own path in life. So we made a decision that would change everything. Derek wanted to go to college. He had good grades, a sharp mind, and dreams of working in business. The problem was money. Farming does not make you rich. It keeps food on the table and a roof over your head, but there is not much left over for luxuries like a 4-year university education. Harold and I talked about it for weeks. We went over our finances again and again, trying to find a way to make it work. Finally, Harold said, "We could sell the north acreage, 20 acres. It would be enough." I remember how much that decision hurt him. That land had been in his family for generations. Selling it felt like cutting off a limb. But he looked at me with those steady brown eyes and said, "Our son's future is worth more than 20 acres of dirt, Sarah. Land can be bought again. Derek only has one shot at this." So we sold it. 20 acres gone. The money went into a college fund for Derek. On top of that, we took on extra work. Harold started doing repairs for neighbors on the side. I began selling baked goods at the local farmers market every Saturday. We pinched every penny, skipped every luxury, and poured everything we had into our son's education. Derek graduated from Ohio State University in 2008 with a degree in business administration. We drove 4 hours to attend his graduation ceremony. I cried the entire time. Seeing him walk across that stage in his cap and gown, knowing what we had sacrificed to get him there, it was the proudest moment of my life. After graduation, Derek got a job at a marketing firm in Columbus, about 2 hours from the farm. He rented an apartment in the city, started his career, and began building his own life. We were so proud of him. He was doing exactly what we had hoped, making something of himself, becoming independent. He came home for visits regularly at first, every other weekend, sometimes more. He would help Harold with repairs around the farm, sit with me on the porch in the evenings, tell us about his work and his friends and his life in the city. Those visits were precious to me. Then 5 years ago, everything changed. Derek met Megan at a company party. She worked in his firm's marketing department. He called me the day after they met, his voice giddy with excitement. "Mom, I met someone. She is amazing, beautiful, smart, funny. I think she might be the one." I was happy for him. Of course I was. Every mother wants her child to find love. But when I finally met Megan, something felt off. I could not put my finger on it exactly. She smiled at all the right moments, said all the right things, but there was a coldness in her eyes that unsettled me. It was like looking at someone performing a role rather than being genuine. The first time Megan came to the farm was for Thanksgiving that year. I spent 3 days preparing. I cleaned every inch of the house, cooked all of Derek's favorite dishes, picked fresh flowers from the garden for the table. I wanted to make a good impression, wanted her to feel welcome. She walked through the door, looked around and wrinkled her nose. "It smells like animals," she said. Harold Ever, the diplomat, laughed it off. "That is the smell of honest work," he said cheerfully. But I saw the way Megan looked at our home like it was beneath her. She refused to eat the eggs I made for breakfast the next morning because they came from our chickens. "I only eat organic eggs from the store," she said. She complained about the slow internet, about the lack of a guest bathroom, about the distance from the nearest shopping center. I tried to connect with her. I really did. I asked about her job, her hobbies, her family. She gave short, polite answers, but never asked anything about me in return. By the end of the weekend, I felt like I had been talking to a wall. After they left, Harold said, "She is young. She will warm up." I wanted to believe him. I wanted so badly to believe him. They got engaged the following year and married the year after that. The wedding was held at a fancy hotel in Columbus, not on our farm, as I had secretly hoped. Megan's mother, Patricia, made all the decisions about the venue, the caterer, the flowers, everything. When I suggested having the reception here where Derek grew up, Patricia actually laughed. "A farm wedding. Oh, Sarah, that is charming, but we need somewhere with proper facilities." Harold and I contributed $15,000 to the wedding. It was nearly all of our savings. Patricia contributed $5,000, but somehow managed to take credit for everything. At the reception, I overheard her telling guests, "I planned this entire affair. It was quite the undertaking." I did not say anything. I smiled, congratulated my son, hugged my new daughter-in-law, and kept my feelings to myself. After the wedding, Derek changed. The visits became less frequent. Once a month, then once every 2 months, then only on major holidays. When he did call, the conversations were shorter, more distracted. I would hear Megan in the background sighing impatiently, and Derek would hurry to end the call. Then Harold died. It happened 3 years ago in September, right in the middle of harvest season. He went out to check on the corn in the morning, same as he did every day. I was in the kitchen making lunch when I heard a sound I will never forget. A thump followed by silence. I found him lying in the field, his face pale, his eyes closed. I screamed his name, shook him, begged him to wake up. By the time the ambulance arrived, he was already gone. Massive heart attack, they said. He probably did not feel any pain. Small comfort. Derek came for the funeral. He stayed 3 days. 3 days to bury the man who had given him everything, who had sold his family's land so his son could have a future. 3 days, and then he was gone again. "Megan needs me," he said as he loaded his suitcase into the car. "She is not good at being alone." I watched him drive away and felt something inside me break. That first night alone in the house was the longest night of my life. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like Harold's footsteps. Every gust of wind through the windows sounded like his breathing. I lay in our bed, the bed we had shared for 35 years, and cried until there were no tears left. The harvest still needed to be completed. Harold had done most of the heavy work already, but there were acres of corn left to bring in equipment to maintain, decisions to be made. I did it all myself. I had no choice. I hired temporary help when I could afford it, leaned on my neighbors when I could not, and somehow made it through. That winter I caught pneumonia. Working outside in the cold for too many hours, my body simply gave out. I remember lying in bed, feverish and weak, unable to get up to feed the chickens. It was Ruth, my neighbor from the farm 2 miles down the road, who found me. She came by to drop off some preserves and noticed the chickens had not been fed. She let herself in, found me barely conscious, and drove me to the hospital. Ruth saved my life that winter. Not my son, my neighbor. Derek called while I was in the hospital. "Mom, I heard you were sick. Are you okay?" "I almost died, Derek." "Oh no, that is terrible. I wish I could be there, but things are so busy at work. Maybe next month." Next month came and went. Derek did not visit. That was the pattern of the next 2 years. I struggled alone on this farm, doing work meant for 2 people, maybe 3, while my son lived his comfortable life in the city. He called occasionally, usually when he needed something, and I gave him whatever he asked for, because that is what mothers do. That is what I thought mothers were supposed to do. I did not realize how much I was being used until it was almost too late. The first time Derek asked me for money after Harold's funeral, I did not think twice about it. It was about 6 months after we buried Harold. I was still adjusting to life alone on the farm, still figuring out how to manage everything by myself. Derek called one evening, his voice tense. "Mom, I need a favor. I found this amazing investment opportunity, but I need $8,000 to get in. Could you lend it to me? I will pay you back as soon as the returns come in." $8,000 was a lot of money. It would take a significant chunk out of my savings. But this was my son asking, my only child, the boy I had sacrificed so much for. "Of course, honey," I said. "I will transfer it tomorrow." A few weeks later, I was scrolling through my phone and saw a picture Megan had posted on social media. She was posing with a brand new designer handbag, the kind that costs several $1,000s. The caption read, "My hubby spoils me rotten, best anniversary gift ever." I stared at that picture for a long time. $8,000, investment opportunity, designer handbag. I never mentioned it to Derek. I told myself maybe I was wrong. Maybe the bag was a knockoff. Maybe the investment had paid off quickly and he used the returns to buy it. I made excuses because making excuses was easier than facing the truth. Around this time, Patricia started appearing more frequently in my life. Megan's mother was a piece of work. Her husband had passed away about a decade before Harold, and she had been living off his life insurance ever since. She had a small apartment in the city, drove a sensible car, and dressed in modest clothes, but she carried herself like she was royalty. The first time Patricia visited the farm without Derek and Megan, I was surprised. She said she was just passing through and wanted to check in on me. Looking back, I think she was scouting, looking for weaknesses, looking for ways to manipulate the situation. She walked through my house like a real estate agent assessing a property. She commented on everything. "This wallpaper is quite dated, Sarah. Have you considered updating? The furniture seems a bit worn. Perhaps it is time for new pieces. You know, a farm like this must be so much work for a woman your age. Have you thought about selling and moving into an assisted living facility? They have wonderful ones now with activities and social programs." I was polite. I offered her coffee and pie. I answered her questions even though they felt invasive. But inside I was seething. Assisted living, I was 60 years old at the time, perfectly capable of managing my own life. This was my home. My husband's family had built it. I was not going anywhere. After she left, I called Derek to mention her visit. "Oh yeah, Patricia likes to check on people," he said casually. "She means well." Did she? I was not so sure. The requests for money continued. About 3 months after the first loan, Derek called again. "Mom, my car broke down. I need $5,000 for repairs." I sent the money. A month later, Megan called directly. "Mom, I saw these shoes that would be perfect for an event I have coming up, but they are a little out of my budget. Could you help?" She wanted $400 for shoes. I sent it. Then Derek again, then Megan again, then Derek and Megan together. The reasons varied. Car repairs, home improvements, work expenses, anniversary trips, birthday presents for each other. The amounts ranged from a few hundred to several thousand, and every time, like a fool, I sent the money. Over the course of 2 years, I gave my son and his wife more than $35,000. I kept rough track in a little notebook by the phone. Every time I sent money, I wrote down the date, the amount, and the reason. When I finally added it all up, I felt sick. $35,000. That was more than the value of the North acreage we had sold to fund Derek's college education. That was years of hard work, pinched pennies, and sacrificed luxuries. Gone. And what did I have to show for it? A son who only called when he needed something. A daughter-in-law who treated me like an inconvenient relative. A farmhouse falling apart because I could not afford to fix it. The roof on the barn had started leaking the previous winter. I put out buckets to catch the water and told myself I would fix it when I had the money. But there was never any money. The tractor was making strange noises every time I started it. I needed to have it serviced, but the mechanic wanted $800, and I did not have $800 to spare. The fencing along the east pasture was falling down in places. I patched it with wire and prayers, hoping it would hold. Meanwhile, my son and his wife were eating at fancy restaurants, buying designer clothes, and planning extravagant vacations. I did not realize the full extent of the situation until Derek asked me to open a supplementary credit card for him. "It is just for emergencies," he explained over the phone. "You know how unpredictable life can be. It would give me peace of mind knowing I have a backup." I should have said no. Every instinct told me this was a bad idea. But Derek sounded so reasonable, so sincere. And I wanted to trust him. I wanted to believe that my son would not take advantage of me. So I called the bank and added him as an authorized user on my credit card. The limit was $10,000 with my name as the primary account holder. Whatever he charged, I would be responsible for. At first, the charges were small. Gas station purchases, grocery stores, nothing alarming. Then they started creeping up. A restaurant here, a department store there. By the 3rd month, I was seeing charges from places I did not recognize. Spa and wellness centers, high-end clothing boutiques, gourmet food delivery services. Each month, the statement arrived in my mailbox, and each month my stomach dropped a little lower. I was watching my credit limit being consumed by luxuries I could not afford for myself. The minimum payments alone were straining my budget. I was eating beans and rice to save money, while my daughter-in-law was getting seaweed wraps at a spa that charged $200 an hour. I wanted to say something. I drafted text to Derek at least a dozen times trying to find the right words. I noticed some charges on the card. Could we talk about the credit card spending? I am concerned about... But I could never bring myself to send them. I was afraid of confrontation, afraid of upsetting him, afraid of losing whatever relationship we still had. So I stayed quiet. I paid the bills. I ate my rice and beans and told myself that things would get better. Ruth was the only one who saw through my facade. She had known me for over 30 years since she and her husband Tom moved into the neighboring farm. We had weathered droughts together, helped each other during harvest seasons, celebrated holidays, and mourned losses side by side. She knew me better than almost anyone. One afternoon, she came over with a pie she had baked. It was peach season, and Ruth made the best peach pie in the county. She found me sitting alone in the kitchen, staring out the window at nothing. "Sarah." She set the pie down and pulled out a chair. "Honey, what is wrong?" "I am fine," I said automatically. "Just tired." She gave me that look, the one that said she was not buying it for a second. "Sarah, I have known you for 32 years. You are not fine. Talk to me." But I could not. Not then. I was not ready to admit out loud what I had allowed to happen. So I just shook my head and changed the subject, and Ruth let me because she was kind enough to know when to push and when to wait. Looking back, I wish I had talked to her sooner. Maybe things would have unfolded differently. Maybe I would have found my strength earlier. But I was not ready yet. I was still making excuses, still hoping, still believing that my son would eventually remember who I was and what I had done for him. I was still waiting for him to choose me. The phone call came on a Tuesday evening in late April. I had just finished feeding the chickens and was washing the dirt off my hands in the kitchen sink when my phone rang. Derek's name flashed on the screen. My heart lifted the way it always did when he called, even though those calls had become rare and usually meant he wanted something. "Hi, honey," I said, drying my hands on a towel. "How are you?" "Great, Mom, really great." His voice was cheerful, excited even. "Listen, I have some news. Megan and I are going on a trip, California, beach vacation. Patricia is coming too. We leave this Friday." I felt a small pang of something. Jealousy. Loneliness. I pushed it aside. "That sounds wonderful. Where in California?" "San Diego area. We rented this amazing beach house, ocean views, private pool, the whole 9 yards. 10 days of pure relaxation." 10 days. The words echoed in my head. This Friday was in 3 days. This Friday was when I had planned to start preparing the spring garden. It was already late in the season. The ground needed to be tilled, the beds needed to be prepared, the seeds needed to be planted. Harold and I had always done this together. After he passed, Derek had promised to come help me. "Derek," I said carefully, "this Friday is when we were going to work on the garden. Remember, you said you would come help me get it ready for planting." There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then Derek's voice came back, slightly impatient. "Mom, I know, but this trip has been planned for weeks. We already bought the tickets. The house is booked. We cannot just cancel." "I understand that, but the garden cannot wait. If we do not plant now, we will miss the entire growing season. Could you maybe come for a few days before you leave, or postpone the trip by a week?" "That is not possible." It was Megan's voice. She must have been listening on speakerphone. "The flights are non-refundable, and Patricia really needs this vacation. She has been under so much stress lately." I wanted to ask what stress Patricia could possibly be under. The woman did not work, did not have a farm to manage, did not spend her days doing physical labor from dawn to dusk. But I held my tongue. "My back has been bothering me," I said instead. "I really could use the help, Derek, even just a couple of days." "Mom, you will be fine. You always manage. You have been doing that garden by yourself for years." "That is not true. Your father always helped. And after he passed, you said you would be there. Every year you have said that. And every year something comes up. That is just how life is. Look, I will come visit when we get back from California. Okay, I promise." Another promise. How many of those had he made and broken? I had lost count. In the background, I heard Patricia's voice. "Tell her we will send pictures. She can enjoy California vicariously through us." Enjoy California vicariously. While I was here alone digging in the dirt, my back screaming in pain. "Derek." I tried one more time. "I am 61 years old. This farm is 47 acres. I cannot do this alone anymore." "Then hire someone," he said. "That is what money is for." The irony of that statement hit me like a slap. What money? The money I had given him, the money being charged to my credit card for spa treatments and fancy dinners. But I did not say any of that. I had never been good at confrontation. Instead, I just said, "Okay, have a good trip." "Thanks, Mom. Love you." He hung up before I could respond. The day they left was a Friday. Derek texted me that morning to let me know they were on their way to the airport. He even stopped by the farm briefly, but only because he needed to pick up a summer suitcase he had stored in my attic years ago. His car pulled up around noon. I watched from the kitchen window as he got out, leaving the engine running. Megan was in the passenger seat scrolling on her phone, not even looking at the house. Patricia was in the back wearing oversized sunglasses and a wide-brimmed hat, like she was already at the beach. Derek jogged to the front door. I opened it before he could knock. "Hey, Mom," he said, giving me a quick hug. "Just need to grab that suitcase from upstairs. Be right back." He disappeared up the stairs. I stood in the doorway looking at the car. Megan glanced up briefly, gave me a small wave, then went back to her phone. Patricia did not even acknowledge me. She adjusted her hat in the rearview mirror, checking her reflection. Derek came back down with the suitcase. "Got it. Thanks, Mom." "Derek, wait." I reached out and touched his arm. "Please, stay for lunch at least. We can talk catch up." He glanced back at the car. "I can't, Mom. Our flight is in 3 hours. We need to get to the airport." "Just a few minutes." "I really can't, but I will call you from California." "Okay, we will video chat. You can see the beach." And then he hugged me again, that same quick, perfunctory hug, and he was out the door. I watched him jog to the car, throw the suitcase in the trunk, and slide into the driver's seat. He said something that made Megan laugh. Patricia leaned forward from the back seat, probably making some comment. And then they were gone. I stood on the porch and watched the car disappear down the dirt road. Dust swirled up behind the tires, catching the afternoon sunlight. The chickens clucked in their coop. A bird sang somewhere in the oak tree. Everything was so peaceful, so normal, as if my heart was not breaking. I went back inside and sat at the kitchen table. The silence of the house pressed in on me from all sides. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall, the hum of the refrigerator, the creak of the old wooden beams settling. Sounds I had lived with my whole life, but which suddenly seemed unbearably loud. On the table in front of me was a folder full of papers, garden plans, seed catalogs, planting schedules. Harold and I used to go through these together every spring, sitting at this very table, arguing good-naturedly about whether to plant more tomatoes or more peppers, whether the squash should go in the east beds or the west ones. I opened the folder and spread the papers out. My handwriting and Harold's mixed together on the same pages. His notes from 3 years ago when he was still alive. Mine from after. I found an old photograph tucked between the pages. Derek, 5 years old, kneeling in the dirt, his little hands wrapped around a tomato plant. Harold was beside him, showing him how to pack the soil around the roots. Both of them were grinning at the camera. Where had that boy gone? The one who used to follow his father around the farm, asking endless questions. The one who was so proud of his cucumber harvest that he insisted on making pickles. The one who promised over and over that he would take care of me when I got old. "Where did you go?" I whispered to the photograph. "Where is my son?" That night I could not sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything. The money I had given, the promises that had been broken, the way Derek looked right through me like I was an obstacle to be managed rather than his mother. At 4:30 in the morning I gave up on sleep and got dressed. There was work to be done whether I had help or not. The spring garden was not going to plant itself. I walked out to the fields as the first light of dawn was painting the sky pink and gold. The air was cool and damp, heavy with the smell of earth and growing things. I could hear birds waking up in the trees, beginning their morning songs. I grabbed a shovel from the tool shed and started to dig. The ground was harder than usual. We had not had much rain lately, and the soil was compacted. Every shovelful felt like it weighed 100 pounds. My shoulders ached. My lower back screamed in protest. But I kept digging. By mid-morning I had managed to prepare about a third of the first bed. not even close to what needed to be done. At this rate, it would take me weeks to finish, and by then it would be too late for most of the crops. I sat down under the old oak tree that Harold had planted the year we got married. He had been so proud of that tree, had babied it through droughts and storms until it grew tall and strong. Now its branches spread wide, providing shade for half the yard. I leaned against its trunk, drank some water from the bottle I had brought, and let myself cry. Not loud, racking sobs, just quiet tears that rolled down my cheeks and dripped onto my work shirt. Tears of exhaustion, of disappointment, of loneliness. Somewhere in California, my son was probably sipping a mimosa by the pool. His wife was probably getting a massage. His mother-in-law was probably complaining about the thread count of the hotel sheets. And I was here, alone, crying under a tree my dead husband had planted, wondering how my life had come to this. The next morning, I forced myself out of bed, even though every muscle in my body was protesting. The garden was not going to wait, and neither were the chickens, or the dozen other tasks that kept a farm running. I was taking a break around 10 in the morning, sitting on the porch steps with a glass of water when my phone buzzed. It was a notification from social media. Megan had posted a new picture. I should not have looked. I knew it would only make me feel worse. But I looked anyway. The photo showed the three of them at the airport, beaming at the camera. Megan was wearing a floral sundress and designer sunglasses. Derek had his arm around her, looking relaxed and happy. Patricia stood slightly to the side, posed perfectly, her expensive-looking travel bag prominently displayed. The caption read, "California, here we come, best family trip ever. So excited for 10 days of sun, sand, and relaxation." I stared at that phrase for a long time. Best family trip ever. Family. Did that word even include me anymore? Was I part of their family? Or just a convenient source of funds to be tapped when needed? I scrolled through the comments. Megan's friends gushing about how lucky she was, asking for the name of her sunglasses, commenting on how cute she and Derek looked together. Dozens of heart emojis and smiley faces. Nobody mentioned me. Nobody asked if Derek's mother was joining them. The next day brought more pictures. The beach house, which looked like something out of a magazine. The private pool glittering blue under the California sun. The three of them raising glasses of wine on a deck overlooking the ocean. Then came the restaurant pictures. A seafood place right on the water. Plates of lobster and crab and oysters. Derek posted one with the caption, "Treating my two favorite ladies to the best dinner on the coast." I looked at that picture and did some mental math. A seafood dinner at a beachfront restaurant in California for 3 people with wine and appetizers and desserts. That could easily run $300 or more, maybe $400. I thought about my own dinner the night before. Rice beans and a small piece of chicken that I had stretched into 3 portions to make it last. Total cost, maybe $2. Each new picture felt like a knife twisting in my stomach. But I could not stop looking. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, horrible but impossible to look away from. On the third day, I was trying to move a 50-pound bag of planting soil from the back of my pickup truck to the garden beds. Harold used to do this kind of heavy lifting. After he passed, I managed by taking smaller loads or asking neighbors for help. But I was tired and frustrated and determined to do it myself. I grabbed the bag, heaved it onto my shoulder, and started walking. I made it about 10 steps before my foot caught on an uneven patch of ground. The world tilted. The bag fell one way, and I fell another. I landed hard on my left side, my knee slamming into a rock that was half buried in the dirt. Pain shot through my leg, sharp and immediate. I lay there for a moment, stunned, staring up at the blue sky. Was this it? Was this how they would find me sprawled in the dirt next to a bag of soil, alone and broken? I tried to get up and gasped as pain lanced through my knee. It was not broken, I could tell that much, but it was badly bruised. There was blood seeping through my jeans where the rock had torn the fabric. I lay back down, suddenly exhausted. The sun beat down on my face. Somewhere in the distance, a tractor was running on a neighbor's property. The chickens were clucking in their coop, probably wondering why their lunch was late. I closed my eyes and let the tears come. That was how Ruth found me. She had been driving by on her way to town when she noticed my truck parked by the garden with no one in sight. She pulled over to check on me and found me lying in the dirt, crying, my knee bloody and swollen. "Sarah, oh my goodness." She was beside me in seconds, her weathered hands gentle as she helped me sit up. "What happened? Are you hurt?" "I fell," I managed to say. "Stupid bag of soil. I fell." Ruth looked at my knee, clucked her tongue sympathetically, and helped me to my feet. She was 67 years old, a tiny woman barely 5 feet tall, but she was stronger than she looked. Farm life does that to you. "Come on," she said, supporting me as I limped toward the house. "Let us get you cleaned up and see how bad it is." She settled me in a kitchen chair, found my first aid kit, and cleaned the wound on my knee with the no-nonsense efficiency of a woman who had treated countless injuries over the years. The cut was superficial, she pronounced, but the bruising would be significant. Ice elevation and rest for the next few days. "You cannot keep doing this, Sarah," she said, as she wrapped a bandage around my knee. "Running this place by yourself, it is too much." "I do not have a choice." "Yes, you do. You could ask for help. You could hire people. You could—" She hesitated. "You could ask Derek." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Derek is in California, beachside vacation with his wife and mother-in-law, too busy drinking wine and eating lobster to help his old mother plant a garden." Ruth sat back, her expression shifting from concern to something else. Understanding, maybe, or pity. "Tell me," she said quietly. And finally, after all those months of keeping it to myself, I did. I told her everything. The money I had given Derek over the years, the credit card I had opened for him, the constant requests, the broken promises, the feeling of being used. I told her about the pictures from California, about eating rice and beans while they ate $300 dinners. I told her about the leaking barn roof and the broken tractor, and the falling down fences, all the repairs I could not afford because my money had gone elsewhere. Ruth listened without interrupting. When I finally ran out of words, she was quiet for a moment, processing everything I had said. "Sarah," she finally said, "you have to know that what they are doing is not right. Taking advantage of you like this, treating you like a bank account instead of a mother. You deserve better." "But he is my son. What am I supposed to do? Cut him off?" "Maybe." Ruth's voice was gentle but firm. "Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them face the consequences of their choices. Derek has never had to face consequences. He spends money because he knows you will always be there to bail him out. He ignores you because there is no cost to ignoring you. You keep giving and giving and he keeps taking and taking. When does it stop?" I did not have an answer. "You know what Harold would say, do you not?" Ruth continued. Harold, my rock. The man who had worked beside me for 35 years, who had never taken me for granted, who had treated me like a partner in everything. What would he think if he could see what had become of our family? "He would say I raised Derek better than this," I whispered. "He would say you deserve to be treated with respect," Ruth said. "And he would say that loving someone does not mean letting them walk all over you." She reached across the table and took my hands in hers. "Sarah, you are one of the strongest women I know. You have survived so much. Harold's death, running this farm alone, medical scares, financial hardship. You have survived all of it. And you can survive this too. But you have to decide that you are worth fighting for, that your needs matter, that you are more than just a source of money for your son to tap whenever he wants a nice vacation." I sat with her words long after she left that evening. I thought about them as I limped around the house, unable to do much physical work because of my knee. I thought about them as I lay in bed that night staring at the ceiling. Ruth was right. I knew she was right. But knowing something and acting on it are two very different things. It took 3 more days for me to find my courage. On the 6th day of Derek's vacation, I sat down at my kitchen table with all the credit card statements from the past 2 years. I spread them out in front of me, page after page of charges. Restaurants, department stores, spa treatments, online shopping, travel expenses, $40,000 in change. All of it charged to my account. All of it my responsibility. $40,000. I let that number sink in. With $40,000, I could have fixed the barn roof, repaired the tractor, replaced all the fencing, painted the house, maybe even hired some part-time help during the busy seasons. Instead, it had gone to designer handbags and beachside lobster dinners. Something inside me shifted. The anger I had been suppressing for years finally broke through. Not rage, not hysteria, just a cold, clear recognition that this had to stop. That I had to stop it. That no one else was going to protect me if I did not protect myself. I picked up the phone and called my bank. The next morning at exactly 6:15, I dialed the customer service number. A cheerful, automated voice asked me to navigate through a series of menus. Finally, I reached a real person. "Good morning. How can I help you today?" "I would like to cancel a supplementary card on my account," I said. My voice was steady, calmer than I felt. "Certainly. I can help with that. Can I have the card number, please?" I read off the number from the statement in front of me. "And the reason for the cancellation?" I paused. What was the reason? Because my son has been using it to fund a lifestyle he cannot afford. Because I have been too weak to say no. Because I am finally ready to put myself first. "Personal reasons," I said. "I no longer wish to be responsible for charges on that card." "I understand. Just to confirm, this will immediately deactivate the supplementary card. Any pending charges may still come through, but no new charges will be possible. Is that acceptable?" "Yes." "All right. The card has been canceled. Is there anything else I can help you with today?" "No. Thank you." I hung up the phone and sat there in the quiet kitchen, my heart pounding. It was done. I had actually done it. For a moment I felt a surge of panic. What would Derek say? How would he react? Would he be angry? Would he hate me? Then I remembered Ruth's words. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them face the consequences of their choices. Derek was 34 years old. He had a job, a salary, a life. He could pay for his own vacation. He could manage his own finances. He did not need his 61-year-old mother to fund his lifestyle while she ate beans and let her farm fall apart. I stood up and walked to the window. The sun was rising over the east fields, painting everything in shades of gold and orange. It was going to be a beautiful day. For the first time in months, I felt something like hope. The call came at exactly 11:14 in the morning. I was in the garden taking a break under the oak tree when my phone started buzzing in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw Derek's name on the screen. I took a deep breath, let it out slowly, and answered. "Mom?" Derek's voice was frantic, almost panicked. "What is happening?" "The card is not working. We are at a restaurant and they keep declining it." "I canceled the card, Derek." Silence on the other end. Then, "You what?" "I canceled it. It is my card. I have the right to cancel it." But we are in the middle of lunch. The bill is over $200. What are we supposed to do?" I looked out at my garden, at the half-finished beds, at the work that still needed to be done. I thought about the bag of soil that had knocked me down, about the bruise on my knee that was still purple and swollen. "You pay it yourself," I said. "You have a job. You have your own credit cards. Use them." "Mom, I cannot believe you are doing this. This is so unfair." "Unfair." The word struck something inside me. "You want to talk about unfair?" "Derek, unfair is your 61-year-old mother falling in the dirt because she has to move 50-pound bags of soil by herself while you are drinking wine on the beach. Unfair is paying for your spa treatments and your restaurant meals while I eat rice and beans and let my farm fall apart. Unfair is 3 years of broken promises of saying you will come help and never showing up." There was movement on the other end of the line. I heard Megan's voice demanding to know what was going on. Then she was on the phone. "Sarah, What is this about Derek says you canceled his card? I canceled my card, I corrected. It was never his. He was just an authorized user, and I revoked that authorization. You cannot do that. We are on vacation. I am aware. I have seen the pictures. This is completely unreasonable. We have expenses. The beach house, the rental car, the restaurants. Then pay for them yourselves. You both have jobs. You both have incomes. Figure it out. I could hear Patricia in the background now, her voice shrill with indignation. What is she saying? What did that woman do? Megan must have told her because suddenly Patricia was on the line, her voice dripping with condescension. Sarah, I think you need to calm down and reconsider. This is not how family treats each other. Derek is your son. You cannot just abandon him in the middle of a trip. Something snapped inside me. All the years of biting my tongue, of swallowing my pride, of letting this woman talk down to me in my own home, it all came rushing up at once. Patricia, with all due respect, you do not get to tell me how to treat my son. I have fed him, clothed him, educated him, and supported him for 34 years. I sold my husband's family land so he could go to college. I have given him and your daughter tens of thousands of dollars over the past few years while living on next to nothing myself. I have done more for that boy than you can possibly imagine. I was shaking now, but my voice was steady. And what have you done, Patricia? You have criticized my home, looked down on my way of life, and encouraged my son and your daughter to treat me like a walking ATM. You took my son on a vacation and left me alone to do manual labor that could have hurt me, that did hurt me, and you did not care. You have never cared. Silence. For once, Patricia had nothing to say. So no, I continued, I will not reconsider. I will not calm down. And I will not keep funding a lifestyle that none of you have earned. If that makes me unreasonable, so be it. I heard the phone being passed again. Derek's voice came back smaller now, less angry. Mom, please, I am sorry. I know I should have been there for you. I will make it up to you, I promise. Just open the card back up for now, and when we get back, I will come to the farm and help with everything. I swear. I closed my eyes. How many times had I heard those words? How many times had I believed them? You have made that promise before, Derek. Every year since your father died, you have made that promise. Every year something comes up. Work, Megan. Patricia, always something more important than your mother. This time is different. I mean it. Then prove it. Not with words, with actions. Cancel your vacation if you have to. Come home. Help me now when I need you, not in some hypothetical future that never seems to arrive. Silence. That is what I thought, I said quietly. You are not willing to give up your vacation. You are not willing to inconvenience yourself. You just want me to make everything easy for you again the way I always have. Mom, that is not fair. Life is not fair, Derek. Your father taught you that. I thought you remembered. There was a long pause. When Derek spoke again, his voice was different, quieter, defeated. What do you want me to do, Mom? I want you to grow up. I want you to take responsibility for your choices. I want you to stop expecting me to bail you out every time you overspend or overcommit. And I want you to treat me with the respect I deserve as your mother, not as your personal bank. Okay. I hear you. Do you? Because hearing and understanding are different things, and understanding and acting on it are even more different. I heard Megan in the background complaining about the restaurant bill, about the embarrassment about me. Patricia was chiming in with her own grievances. I have to go, Derek said. We need to figure this out. Yes, you do. And Derek, I love you. I have always loved you. But I am done being taken for granted. When you are ready to have an adult relationship with me based on mutual respect, I will be here. But until then, you need to handle your own life. I hung up before he could respond. My hands were trembling as I set the phone down. I could not believe I had actually said all of that. Years of frustration, years of silence finally spoken aloud. I sat under that oak tree for a long time, watching the shadows shift as the sun moved across the sky. I felt empty and full at the same time. Empty of the burden I had been carrying, full of something new. Pride, maybe? Or just peace? The phone buzzed several more times over the next few hours. Texts from Derek ranging from apologetic to angry and back again. A missed call from Patricia. A passive-aggressive message from Megan about toxic family members. I did not respond to any of them. Ruth came by that evening with dinner. She had heard from her daughter who had seen Megan's cryptic social media post about family drama and called to ask what was going on. I canceled the credit card, I told Ruth as we sat on the porch eating her homemade chicken soup. Ruth smiled, the first real smile I had seen from her in weeks. Good for you, Sarah. I am proud of you. I do not know if I did the right thing. Derek sounded so upset. What if he never forgives me? Then he was never worthy of your forgiveness in the first place. Ruth set down her spoon and looked at me seriously. Sarah, listen to me. You did not do anything wrong. You set a boundary. You stood up for yourself. If Derek cannot accept that, if he cannot respect you enough to understand why you had to do it, then that is his problem, not yours. I nodded, trying to believe her. Besides, Ruth added, he will come around. He might be angry now, but deep down he knows you are right. He just needs time to work through it. I hope so. I know so. She patted my hand. Now eat your soup before it gets cold. You have had enough drama for one day. The next few days were strange. The phone calls and texts from California continued for a while, then gradually tapered off. I heard through the grapevine that Derek, Megan, and Patricia had cut their trip short by 5 days, unable to afford the remaining expenses without my credit card to fall back on. They had to change their flights, find cheaper accommodations for the last couple of nights, and presumably eat at more modest restaurants. Meanwhile, I kept working on the farm. My knee healed. Ruth and some other neighbors came by to help with the garden. Word had gotten around about my situation, and the community rallied in ways that surprised and touched me. Bill Henderson from down the road brought his tractor over and tilled the remaining beds in one afternoon. Margaret from the church organized a group of volunteers to help with planting. Even old Mr. Kowalski, who was 83 and could barely walk, came by with a bag of heirloom tomato seeds from his late wife's collection. I was not alone. I had never been alone. I had just been so focused on my son that I had forgotten about everyone else. Derek came to the farm a week after they returned from California. I saw his car pull up the driveway from the kitchen window. He was alone, no Megan, no Patricia. Just my son, getting out of his sedan, standing in the yard, and looking around like he was seeing the place for the first time. I watched him for a moment. He looked tired, older somehow. The last few weeks had taken a toll on him. I went out to meet him, but I did not run to embrace him the way I once would have. I walked slowly, deliberately, and stopped a few feet away. Derek. Mom. We stood there looking at each other. So much had been said on the phone, so many accusations and revelations. Now face to face, neither of us seemed to know how to begin. I came to apologize, he finally said. In person. I know a phone call is not enough for something like this. I nodded but did not say anything. I wanted to hear what he had to say. I have been thinking a lot about what you said, about how I have been treating you, about the money, the promises, all of it. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture I remembered from his childhood. You were right. About everything. I have been selfish. I have been taking you for granted. I have been... His voice cracked. I have been a terrible son. Come inside, I said quietly. We can talk in the house. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I had confronted him in my mind 100 times, but never in reality. I made tea, the cheap kind I drank every day, not the fancy stuff I used to buy when he visited. I want you to see something, I said, pulling out the folder of credit card statements I had compiled. Go through these. Look at every charge. Tell me what you see. Derek took the folder reluctantly, like it might bite him. He started flipping through the pages, his face growing paler with each one. "The spa on March 15th, I said, pointing. That was the day my knee was acting up so badly I could barely walk to the mailbox. The restaurant on April 3rd. That was the week I had to choose between buying groceries and fixing the leak in the chicken coop. I chose the chicken coop. The chickens needed a dry place to sleep more than I needed a full refrigerator." Derek's hands were shaking now. "Mom, I did not know. You did not ask. You never asked how I was doing. You never asked if I needed anything. You only called when you wanted something from me." He looked up at me, his eyes wet. "I am so sorry." "I know you are. But sorry does not fix the barn roof. Sorry does not make up for 3 years of neglect. Sorry is just a word, Derek. I need to see change. Real change." "What do you want me to do?" I had thought about this. I had a list in my head, a set of conditions that I needed him to understand and accept. First, no more supplementary cards. Ever. You manage your own finances from now on. If you need help, we can talk about it, but I will not be your safety net anymore. He nodded. Second, I expect you to visit at least once a month. Not for an hour, not for a quick hello and goodbye, for a real visit. At least a full day. And when you come, you work. You help with whatever needs to be done around here. You get your hands dirty. Another nod, more hesitant this time. Third, if you ever need money from me again, you tell me exactly what it is for, and I decide whether or not to help based on the actual situation. No more vague investment opportunities or mysterious car repairs. Honesty. Complete honesty. Okay. And fourth, I paused, making sure he was really listening. Patricia is welcome here only if she treats me with respect. If she criticizes my home, my life, my choices one more time, she is not welcome. I have tolerated her condescension for too long because I thought it was what you wanted. But this is my home. I will not be disrespected under my own roof." Derek was quiet for a long moment. I could see him processing everything, weighing it against whatever Megan and Patricia had told him, against whatever he had believed about our relationship. "Those are fair conditions," he finally said. "More than fair, actually considering everything." "I am glad you think so." "Mom, He took a deep breath. "I love you. I know I have not shown it. I know I have been wrapped up in my own life and my own problems, and I have let you down. But I do love you. You are my mother. You and Dad gave me everything, sacrificed everything, and I have repaid you with neglect and entitlement. That stops now." I reached across the table and took his hand. It was the first real connection we had had in years. "I love you too, Derek. I always have. That is why this has hurt so much. Because I love you, and I felt like I was losing you." "You are not losing me," he said. "I am right here. I am not going anywhere." We talked for hours after that. Really talked the way we had not in years. He told me about the pressures he had been feeling at work, the financial strain of trying to keep up with Megan's expectations, the way Patricia constantly compared him unfavorably to some imaginary perfect son-in-law. I told him about the loneliness, the fear, the physical exhaustion of trying to maintain the farm alone. By the time the sun started setting, we had covered more ground than we had in the previous 3 years combined. "Stay for dinner," I said. "It is not much, just what I have." "I would like that." We ate together a simple meal of chicken and vegetables from my garden. Derek complimented everything, and for once it did not feel like flattery. It felt genuine. After dinner, he did not leave. He asked if he could stay the night, help with the morning chores. I gave him his old room, the one he had grown up in, unchanged since he left for college. The next morning, I found him already outside when I woke up feeding the chickens. He was doing it wrong, scattering the feed too quickly, but he was trying. That was what mattered. Over the next 3 days, Derek stayed at the farm. He helped me finish planting the garden. He patched the worst sections of the barn roof. He fixed the squeaky step on the back porch that had been bothering me for months. His hands got blistered. His back ached. But he did not complain. On the last evening before he had to return to the city, we sat on the porch together watching the sunset. The sky was ablaze with color oranges and pinks and purples bleeding into each other. "I miss Dad," Derek said quietly. "I miss him too. Every day. He would be disappointed in me, in how I have acted. He would be proud that you are trying to make it right." Derek turned to look at me. "Do you think I can make it right? I considered the question carefully. Making it right is not a one-time thing, Derek. It is a process. It is showing up day after day doing what you say you are going to do. It is being present when it is hard, not just when it is convenient. It is treating people with respect and kindness, even when no one is watching." That sounds like something Dad would say. He probably did say it at some point. He was full of wisdom like that. I smiled at the memory. He would have said that talk is cheap, that a man is measured by his actions, not his words, that family is not about blood, it is about commitment. Derek nodded slowly. "I want to be that kind of man, the kind Dad was." "Then be him. Not for me. Not for Megan. For yourself." He reached over and took my hand. We sat there together, mother and son, watching the last light fade from the sky. 6 months have passed since that conversation on the porch. The garden I planted in such despair has flourished beyond my expectations. The tomatoes came in thick and red, the best crop I have had in years. The squash practically took over one entire bed. The peppers were so plentiful, I had to give bags of them away to the neighbors. Ruth helped me can most of it. We spent long afternoons in my kitchen, boiling jars, filling them with sauce and pickles and preserves, labeling them for the winter ahead. It felt good. It felt like the old days when community meant something, when neighbors looked out for each other. Derek has kept his promise. He has come to visit every month without fail. Sometimes he stays for a day, sometimes for a weekend. He has painted the front porch, replaced the windows in the upstairs bathroom, and helped me install a new fence along the east pasture. His hands are no longer as soft as they used to be. He is learning what it means to work. Megan has come with him a few times. She is different now, quieter, more observant. She helped me in the kitchen during her last visit, actually asked me to teach her how to make my chicken soup. I do not know if she has truly changed, or if she is just being more careful around me. But either way, the improvement is welcome. Patricia has visited once. She was polite, even complimentary about the new fence. She did not criticize the decor or suggest I move to assisted living. Whether that change is permanent or temporary, only time will tell. Derek and Megan are managing their own finances now. They have cut back on dining out, canceled some subscriptions, started cooking at home more. Derek told me they are actually saving money for the first time since they got married. He seemed proud of that, and I was proud of him for being proud. My relationship with my son is not perfect. We are still rebuilding, still learning how to communicate honestly, still navigating the complicated territory between parent and adult child. But we are doing it. Day by day, conversation by conversation, we are finding our way back to each other. I have also found my way back to myself. For years, I defined my worth by what I could give to others. My husband, my son, my community. I gave and gave until there was nothing left. I thought that was what love meant. Sacrifice, service, putting everyone else first. But Ruth was right. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Loving others does not mean erasing yourself. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is necessary. It is healthy. It is the foundation on which real relationships are built. I started going to church again, something I had let slip in the years after Harold died. The weekly services give me a sense of peace and connection. I joined the women's group, and we meet every Thursday for Bible study and conversation. Some of these women have become real friends, people I can talk to about things that matter. I also joined the local gardening club. We meet once a month to share tips, swap seeds, and encourage each other. It sounds simple, but it has added something meaningful to my life. A sense of belonging. A reminder that I am part of a community that values me for who I am, not just for what I can provide. My niece Chloe has been visiting more often too. She is my sister's daughter, 28 years old, bright and curious and kind. She has taken an interest in the farm and learning the old ways of doing things. She asks questions the way Derek used to when he was small. Why do plants need water? Why do you rotate the crops? Why does the soil smell like that after the rain? One afternoon, as we were weeding the tomato beds together, Chloe asked me about everything that had happened with Derek. My mom told me about it, she said. About the credit card, the vacation, all of it. How did you get through? How did you find the strength to stand up to him? I thought about the question for a long time before answering. It was not about strength, I finally said. Or maybe it was, but not in the way you might think. I did not feel strong when I made that phone call to cancel the card. I was terrified. Terrified of losing my son, of being alone, of making the wrong choice. I pulled a weed and tossed it into the bucket beside me. But I realized something. I was already losing him. I had been losing him for years, not to distance or death, but to a kind of rot. The more I gave without receiving anything back, the more I enabled his worst behaviors, the further he drifted from the person I raised him to be. By always saying yes, by never setting limits, I was not helping him. I was hurting both of us. Chloe nodded slowly. So you had to say no to save the relationship. Something like that. I had to say no to the old way of doing things so we could build something new, something healthier. And it worked. I smiled. It is working. It is still a process. But yes, I think so. I think we are finally moving in the right direction. That conversation stayed with me for days afterward. It crystallized something I had been feeling, but had not quite put into words. Setting that boundary, as painful as it was, had been an act of love. Love for myself and love for my son. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is tell them the truth, even when it hurts, even when they do not want to hear it. I still wake up at 4:30 every morning. Old habits die hard. But I no longer dread the silence of the house. It has become a companion rather than an enemy. I have my routines, my work, my community, my faith. I have Ruth next door, and Chloe visiting regularly, and Derek calling every few days just to check in. And I have myself. For the first time in a long time, I like the person I see in the mirror. Not because I am perfect, not because I have figured everything out, but because I know my own worth now. I know that I deserve respect, kindness, and consideration. I know that my needs matter, that my feelings are valid, that my life has value beyond what I can do for others. That is perhaps the greatest gift to come out of all this pain. The rediscovery of my own worth. One evening last week, Derek called. It was not about money, not about needing anything. He just wanted to talk. He told me about his day at work, about a funny thing Megan said about a movie they had watched together. Near the end of the conversation, he said something that made my heart feel full. Mom, thank you. For everything you did. For putting up with me when I was being terrible, and for finally not putting up with it anymore. I needed that wake-up call. I just wish it had not taken so long for me to hear it. I wish that too, I said. But what matters is that you heard it eventually, that we found our way back to each other. Yeah. His voice was soft. We did. After we hung up, I sat on the porch for a while watching the stars come out. Harold used to love doing this. He would point out constellations, tell me their stories, make up new ones when he forgot the real ones. I could almost feel him there beside me, his presence a warm comfort in the cool night air. We did okay, I whispered into the darkness. It was not pretty, and it was not easy, but we did okay. Our boy is going to be all right. A shooting star streaked across the sky there and gone in an instant. I chose to believe it was Harold telling me he agreed. If you are watching this video, if you have made it this far, I want to leave you with something to think about. You deserve to be treated with respect. Your needs matter. Your feelings are valid. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is necessary. If there is someone in your life who takes you for granted, who treats you like a bank account, or a servant, or an afterthought, you have the right to demand better. You have the right to say no. You have the right to protect yourself. And here is the thing about boundaries. They do not destroy relationships. They define them. A relationship that cannot survive a reasonable boundary was never a healthy relationship to begin with. I am not saying it is easy. It is not. Saying no to someone you love, someone you have always put first, goes against every instinct. But sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. You are worthy of love that flows both ways. You are worthy of relationships built on mutual respect. You are worthy of a life that includes your own happiness, not just everyone else's. So if you are struggling with something like this, if you are feeling used or taken for granted, I hope my story gives you some courage. You are not alone. You are stronger than you think. And it is never too late to start demanding the treatment you deserve. I am 62 years old now. I wake up at 4:30 every morning and walk out to fields that my husband's family has farmed for 4 generations. I plant and weed and harvest. I feed my chickens and fix my fences and sit on my porch watching the sunset. And I am happy, truly deeply happy. Not because everything is perfect, it is not, but because I finally know who I am. I finally know my worth. And I finally have relationships that reflect that worth. That is what I want for you too. Whoever you are, wherever you are watching from, I want you to find that same peace. Now I would love to hear from you. Have you ever had to set a difficult boundary with someone you love? How did it go? What did you learn from the experience? Please share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who is struggling with the same thing. If this story touched your heart, if it gave you something to think about, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you are not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so you do not miss the next story. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. From my little farm in Ohio to wherever you are in the world, I am sending you love, strength, and the courage to know your own worth. Take care of yourselves, friends. And remember, it is never too late to start putting yourself first.